Thank you, and welcome friends to episode 13 of Hobson's Choice. I'm Michael G. Hobson, and in this episode, the G stands for Grown Up Nation. I was watching the news the other day. I can't recall whether it was CNN or MSNBC, and I heard a guest use that phrase when describing the U.S. The context of the comment came while discussing the possible 10-year prison term facing 3 college basketball players after the boys were caught stealing sunglasses while on tour with their team in China. 10-year sentences aren't handed out here for something so minor, she said, because this, the U.S., is a grown-up nation. The phrase stuck in my mind because of its irony, that Americans think they live in a grown-up nation, even when it is largely being led by children, with Baby Huey in charge. As well, the ruling political party behaves like it is acting out scenes from Lord of the Flies, that whenever an opportunity presents itself, the gun-loving Republicans take aim at each other and pick each other off with abandon. I don't see how you could think you live in a grown-up nation. Perhaps before, when it seemed like you were growing up, having elected a black man as president twice, and being on the verge of electing your first female president, continuing to prove to the world that the tide was indeed turning in America. But now, you are regressing through adolescence straight back to childhood. Why aren't the Democrats doing more to save society? Aren't they the so-called adults in the room? At this point, they don't have to. Basic resistance is working. Whenever the Mad Hatter says something dangerous or stupid, he's more of a talker than a doer. They say he's being dangerous or stupid, and call foul whenever Republicans tried out one of their hastily constructed bills, written almost entirely with selfish motives. These are not your father's Republicans. This is not the party of tear down this wall. This is the party of build a wall. It is not the Republican ideal with which I disagree. It is the wolves in sheep's clothing who are impersonating the Republicans of today, callously parading the ideal that they have the country's best interests at heart when they are almost entirely enticed by selfish gains. 10 months in, and the one line I remember most from the campaign was drain the swamp. Voters were right. Washington is a swamp. But it is unfortunate that voters were misled, taken, manipulated, for it was those who reside in the swamp who won the election. The Mad Hatter boasted, "I may be bad, but she's worse." 10 months into the administration, we know that that was a lie. At this time, I believe most Americans at least give a modicum of credence to the notion that Russia manipulated the election. I also believe there is a rapidly increasing number of Americans who believe their president may be getting his marching orders from Putin, or at least receiving some strongly worded suggestions. They met again this past week at a conference in Vietnam, but after a quick handshake and a few kind words, the Mad Hatter mostly kept his distance, unlike their previous public meeting. Perhaps Putin whispered time and place when a Russian agent would deliver suggestions, to a member of the American delegation. No more publicly announced private meetings. From now on, it's strictly back channel. Someone should tell Putin that America is a grown-up nation. He, like Bob Corker, thinks the White House is an adult daycare center. But while Corker's comment is criticism, Putin loves being a daycare suggester. Healthcare. Well, nearly every civilized nation has come to the realization that it's better if their citizens stay alive. The United States continues to stumble along with the 19th century thinking, stuck on the cost, not understanding that money is an inanimate object and can be replaced, while people cannot. And don't even get me started on gun control. It is so irresponsible, so villainous, so egregiously cruel to allow military weapons to be bought and sold and used on your citizens. Villainously, murderously irresponsible. Medicine? While you can boast of great medical advancements, what good are they if your citizens can't afford to buy the medicine? Again, stuck on the money. Prisons. Your idea of reform is to arrest more people on minor offenses and then hand out longer sentences. Your prisons are so overcrowded that in many institutions, bunk beds go 6 bunks high, with no ladder. A word of warning though, if the Mad Hatter even ever gets around to how much correctional institutes cost, he's going to quickly sign an executive order chopping the budget. When that happens, and you are faced with needing to cut costs, meaning the early release of prisoners, be careful that those who truly deserve to be in prison aren't released by mistake. Roy Moore. If Alabama elects a racist, homophobic child molester to the Senate, it will further cement its reputation as a state of rednecks. Oh, and just so you know, all Bible thumpers are not Bible believers. Reverend William J. Barber said, quote, "This is not Christianity. Rather, it is an extreme Republican religionism that stands by party and regressive policy no matter what. It's not the gospel of Christ, but a gospel of greed." Unquote. Well said. Now I know it's not perfect up here either, but when we elect a prime minister by mistake, like we did with Stephen Harper on 3 occasions, at least we know our PM can't destroy the world, just our country, like Stephen Harper tried to do. I like that Trudeau is progressive in his ideology, but mostly I like that he believes humans are the leading cause of climate change, unlike our former prime minister who thought more about the money. You see, that's what we do in a grown-up nation. We recognize and accept our mistakes, and then we correct them. Till next time, my friends, be well.